Welcome to APSC, bro. Today we are going to do a very important topic, which is India's stand on Israel-Palestine conflict. Now, Israel-Palestine conflict is the talk of the town. It's a hot topic right now. There are a lot of questions, whether it will escalate to a world war, how is it going to get solved, how the two parties is going to come down to a solution, many things. Within all this thing, one thing which has distinctively come out and which is very beautiful is the India's stand on the whole conflict. See, the India has placed itself very beautifully diplomatically in this conflict. It has not taken either side, and it has neither offended both the sides. So in this Palestine Israel conflict, you see the whole world is divided into two halves. However, India has placed itself beautifully in neither of the halves. It has extended its support to both the countries. It has, talked against the violence, they talked against terrorism, but at the same time have extended its, support to the real cause, to the, Israel and Palestine both for a peaceful solution. So India has beautifully placed itself. Now, if you see this diplomatic, position of India is the highlight of its foreign policy for a long time. India very beautifully placed itself in the US, Russia, foreign policies, Middle Eastern foreign policies. So this is one of the beauty of the Indian foreign policy, and we'll see how India beautifully have placed it, how its foreign policy is one unique in the whole world in this video. But to before going into that, you have to understand how the whole Israel Palestine conflict, how the creation of Israel and Palestine came into being. You have to go back to 1917 when British foreign secretary through Balfour Declaration for the first time advocated the creation of a Jewish state in Palestine. Okay. Now, creation of Palestine, unable to contain Arab and Jewish violence, Britain withdrew its forces from Palestine in 1948 and left the responsibility of this area to United Nations. Okay. The Arab-Israel War in 1948, the Jewish declaration of Israel's independence prompted the Israel-Arab War in 1948. At that time, Israel controlled about 50% more territory than what was envisioned in UN partition plan. We have already talked the control of the whole area was given to the United Nations, and the United Nations gave a partition plan. As per this UN partition plan, Jordan will control the West Bank. This is West Bank. Okay. Egypt here will control the Gaza Strip. Now, this is the Gaza Strip around which the whole, recent Hamas-Israel conflict is going on. But it fell short of solving the Palestinian crisis, which led to the formation of Palestinian Liberation Organization in 1964. You see, this is the Golan Heights, one of the most important topics from exam point of view. This is the West Bank, this is the Dead Sea, we have Syria here, we have Lebanon here, we have Egypt here, this is Israel, this part is the West Bank, and this is the Gaza Strip. Recently, there will be a lot of news regarding this Gaza Strip. We know that the humanitarian facilities are being sent to Gaza Strip to Egypt. Otherwise, Gaza Strip is surrounded by Israel in all the other sides and Mediterranean Sea in one side. Now, one thing is very important: is study of map is very important, because this will is one of the most hot topics for any preliminary questions, exam questions in UPSC. Plus, in mains also, you'll get a lot of questions regarding this kind of geographical questions. Okay, they might ask you which are the countries which surrounds Golan Heights, which are the countries which surrounds Dead Sea. Gaza Strip, shares this boundary with which countries. Okay. So there are a lot of questions on this. So please have a good read of the maps. Now we know that we have discussed how the UN partition plan failed to address the situation, and hence the Palestinian Liberation Organization was founded. This was founded with the aim of freeing Palestine from the clutches of Israel and Jewish domination. Okay. The United Nations granted PLO Palestine Liberation Organization observer status in 1975, and thus it recognized the Palestinians' right to self-determination. This was a big moment for the Palestinians because for the first time United Nations recognized that the Palestinians had the right to self-determine. Like they have the right to establish themselves as a identity, as an entity. Okay. In 1967, there was this war. Israeli forces the Golan seized the Golan Heights. Which are the Golan Heights? This is the Golan Height area. Now, Israeli forces seized the Golan Heights from Syria, the West Bank and the East Jerusalem from Jordan, and Sinai Peninsula and Gaza Strip from Egypt. Okay, so there was a 6-day war in which the Israeli forces turned victorious and they occupied the entire area. However, there were a lot of efforts after that to establish peace in Middle East. One of those efforts was from US, known as the Camp David Accords, but it failed. You know, then in 1987 there was the formation of Hamas, which is now in news, which actually controls the Gaza Strip now and which is in war with Israel presently. It is actually a violent offshoot of Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood. Okay, and it is mostly a violent sect which advocates jihad. Okay, US have regarded Hamas as a terrorist organization. Okay, in 2006, however, Hamas won the Palestinian Authority's legislative elections, and thus it gained the control of Gaza Strip in 2007, thereby splitting the Palestinian movement. You see, now the Palestinian movement has been divided in two parts: the West Bank part, which is controlled by Palestinian Authority, and the Gaza Strip part, which is now controlled by Hamas. Okay, so it happened in 2007. In 1993, under the Oslo Accords, this Oslo Accord is also very important from this conflict point of view. In 1993, under the Oslo Accords, Israel and PLO, Palestine Liberation Organization, agreed to officially recognize each other and said that will not, you know, go into violence. The Oslo Accords was established the Palestinian Authority, which now controls the West Bank area, which received limited autonomy in Gaza Strip and the parts of West Bank. In 2005, Israel begins a unilateral withdrawal of Jews from settlements in Gaza. However, it still controls the border. In 2012, UN upgraded the Palestinian representation to that of non-member observer state. So, in one place, the Palestinian Authority is gaining importance in the West Bank and is gaining recognition from both from Israel as well as UN. At the same time, Hamas control over the West Bank, over the Gaza Strip increased, and it led to conflict between Israel and Hamas for the Gaza Strip. So till now we have discussed a lot of things. We have discussed about PLO, about Hamas, about Israel, about Jordan, Egypt, UN, everything. But we have not discussed what is exactly, how did India react to all of these events. We have seen how PLO was formed, how Hamas is formed, how PLO led into Palestinian Authority, which is controlling West Bank. But we have not understood how India have reacted to all this events that were going on. So now we are going to first get into how India got into all this conflict, how it stood itself in the midst of all these events. Okay, first thing, what was India's initial stand, like historically how India placed itself? Now, India's historical stance on Israel-Palestine conflict leaned towards Palestine. Now, India, in its initial stages, had its inclination towards Palestine. And this inclination of India towards Palestine was driven by many factors. First thing, Mahatma Gandhi opposed to a Jewish state in Palestine. Second thing, India's large Muslim population, and Muslim population always have an affinity or has a inclination towards their support to Palestine, and so India did not want to offend its huge Muslim diaspora. Third, the need to maintain good relation with Arab countries. Now, India have a dependence on Arab countries for its energy requirements and also has a good relationship as such culturally or diplomatically, and so India did not want to offend the Arab countries. Now Arab countries are in support of Palestine, so India also started supporting Palestine cause. During world Cold War, India aligned itself with the Soviet Union. Okay, and now in the Cold War phase, India though had a very unaligned kind of situation, but it had its affinity towards Soviet Union, right? Now this Soviet Union supported the Arab states and Palestine, and so India also had a pro-Palestine position. India's solidarity with the Palestinian people was taken shape during our freedom struggle. In 1938, on the proposal to create a homeland for Jews, that is the creation of Israel, Mahatma Gandhi clearly said, "My sympathy for the Jews does not blind me to the requirements of justice. It is wrong and inhuman to impose Jews on the Arabs." So Mahatma Gandhi clearly said that he is in opposition to the formation of a Jewish state, Israel, in the Arab homeland or Arab heartland or in the Palestinian soil. India was one of the few countries to oppose UN's partition plan. We have already told about the Union partition plan, in which UN partitioned the whole area into various. We know about the Union partition plan, right? It divided the entire area, the Gaza Strip part, the Golan Heights, the West Bank, into various states like Egypt, Jordan, Syria, etc. Now, India was the first country one of the first countries, few countries to oppose it. India recognized Israel in 1950, but it is also the first non-Arab country to recognize PLO as the sole representative of the Palestinian people. Yasser Arafat had a close relationship with India, and India is one of the first, actually the first non-Arab country, this is a big thing, to recognize PLO as the representative of Palestinian people. India is also one of the first country to recognize the statehood of Palestine in 1988. This is very important information. You can use it in all your mains related questions, or it might also come in your prelims examination. Okay. India was the first to recognize PLO, non-Arab country. It is also one of the first countries to recognize statehood of Palestine in 1988. India voted in favor of the UN resolution against constructing the West Bank wall by Israel in 2003. India also voted in favor for accepting Palestine as a member of UNESCO in 2011. India voted in favor of upgrading the status of Palestine to a non-member state in UN in 2012. In 2014, UN supported a UNHRC resolution to launch a probe into Israel offensive in Gaza. So all these events clearly shows that India has a great or strong support to the Palestinian cause and also to the human crisis that was happening. Okay, India was against any inhuman activity going in those places and also had showed its inclination towards its support to Palestine. Now, this was the original stance of India. Historically, India was pro-Palestinian. However, there was a shift in Indian policy. Great shift. It happened in 1992 after the Cold War. In 1992, India established full diplomatic relationship with Israel, marking a significant shift. Okay, though even though it has established a relationship with Israel, still India always supported the Palestinian cause. This is one thing. Okay, India had a balanced approach. It was only after the end of Cold War that Prime Minister Narasimha Rao took the bold step of establishing diplomatic ties with Israel. Irrespective of the potential fallout with the Arab countries, India started to establish relationship with Israel after post 1992, and Prime Minister Narasimha Rao was the pioneer of that. Okay, despite recognizing Israel in 1950, India did not establish any relationship with till 1992. Various factors like Muslim population, Cold War dynamics, the need to maintain Arab support delayed India's support, but after 1992, India started to create bond with Israel. Now see, one of the biggest thing about India's approach, shift in India's policy and India's approach to Israel-Palestine crisis, which is still going on, is the de-hyphenation policy. Now, if you don't know this policy, that means your knowledge in the Indian stand on Israel-Palestine crisis is not complete. If you refer to de-hyphenation policy in your answers, whether it is in the mains examination or in the interview, the person will understand that you have a good deep knowledge on the crisis. See, what is de-hyphenation policy? Till before 1992, India had this feeling that the Palestine and Israel crisis was one, and if we have to go into this crisis, you have to look into this crisis, we have to consider both Palestine and Israel as one country or as the same entity. However, post 1992, India started dehyphenating. That means it started to understand that Israel and Palestine are two different countries and we should not mix them together. India can have separate policy for Israel and a separate policy for Palestine, and these two policies for both countries cannot come into conflict with each other. So India wants to dehyphenate its relationship with Israel and Palestine and see them as mutually independent and exclusive. That means India can have a good relation with Israel as well as Palestine, and this relationship with both the countries will not affect India's relationship with Arab countries or with each other, right? India's policy on the longest running conflict in the world has gone from being unequivocally pro Palestine for the first 4 decades to a tense balancing act in the last 3 decades. So now India has started to act in a more balanced way. It has started establishing friendly terms with Israel as well as have supported the Palestinian cause. So India is starting to have a good balanced, you know, approach to the whole crisis. It is treating both the countries as separate entities and extending its help to both the countries. Two state policies. This is another important policy of India towards this crisis. India believes in a two state solution. That means it believes that both Palestine and Israel can coexist as two separate states in a peaceful manner. It's very important. India's position was that it supported the Palestinian cause, called for a negotiated solution resulting in a sovereign, independent, viable United State of Palestine with East Jerusalem as capital, living within secure and recognized borders side by side at peace with Israel. So, what does this mean? Okay? India is saying that both Israel and Palestine can exist. Palestine can exist as a separate, independent, viable sovereign country with East Jerusalem as capital and along with Israel, okay, but in a very peaceful manner. So that is India's thinking on the whole crisis. The then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh stated this position in 2013, and the President Pranab Mukherjee also spoke about it in 2015. So this is a very important aspect of the Indian policy towards this crisis. After 2017, you see, till 2017, India always referred to East Jerusalem as the capital of Palestinian state. It also talked about the boundaries between Israel and Palestine. Okay. However, after 2017, India started to not talk anything about East Jerusalem or borders. So after 2017, India became more diplomatic in its approach. It said that will not get into any of the internal affairs. Where should be the capital? Where should be the boundary? We are not going to deal in that. We are only going for a peaceful solution. We want a peaceful solution. We want both Palestine and Israel to exist in a peaceful manner, and we are not going to get into the internal matters of the two countries. However, we'll always have a support towards the Palestinian cause of self identity as well as also maintaining good relation with Israel. In 2017, Indian Prime Minister for the first time visited Israel Also in 2018, he also made an official visit to Palestine for the first time. This shows that India wants to maintain a good relationship with both the states. In 2017, India voted against US and Israel for an attempt to declare all of Jerusalem as Israeli capital. In 2017, US and Israel wanted a resolution by which Jerusalem will be considered as Israeli capital, the whole of Jerusalem. But India voted against it. Even though India have started a very close relationship with Israel, yet it voted against it just to show that it will always have a balanced approach. India's policy is clear. They'll condemn terrorism. They will not tolerate any kind of terrorism, whether it is from Hamas or any other terrorist outfit. At the same time, it will not also support any inhuman or violation of human rights in the place. If you see how India and Israel's relationship have grown, you see, Israel was one of the rare countries to directly help India during Kargil war. Okay, India is now a very important defense partner of India. We import a lot of defense stuff from Israel. India has helped India to undertake a military strike against Pakistan during Operation Parakram, that is a response to. Apart from defense cooperation, Israel have cooperated with India in many other sectors like Indian agriculture and other things, right? So we have a very strong and friendly relationship with Israel as on today. So now we have understood how India's response to both Israel and Palestine goes, how India is taking a balanced approach. Now let us have a look into the main principles or main pillars of India's foreign policy in this aspect. First thing, India is always there for peace. India wants peace and stability in the region. For this, they will support both the countries. Okay. Second thing, two-state solution. As I have said, India have always said that there should be a two-state solution where both Israel and a future Palestinian state should coexist peacefully. Peacefully is very important. This solution envisions an independent, sovereign, viable, and united state of Palestine. Okay, so India advocates existence of both the countries. De-hyphenation of relation. India says that India views its relationship with these two nations as mutually independent and exclusive. That means they want to maintain relationship with both the countries but independent of each other. Okay. India does not link its engagement with one country with the other engagement, recognizing distinct importance of each relationship. Another aspect of India's foreign policy is India's balanced approach. India strikes a delicate balance between its historical support for Palestine and its growing ties with Israel. So it has always maintained its support for the Palestinian cause, at the same time maintain a friendly and growing relationship with Israel. This balance reflects, actually, this type of approach, balanced foreign policy approach of India, is actually not only limited to in Palestine and Israel, but towards its all other regional geopolitics. Second is that India has an independent foreign policy. The India's position on Israel and Palestine issue is independent of any other influence. It is not influenced by any other third country. It has its own unique approach towards the problem. Maintaining historical support. See, despite of diversifying its foreign policy, India still is committed to the Palestinian cause as it was way before. It has constantly supported Palestine's statehood and a right to self-determination, even though it has started growing its intimacy with Israel. So this is one of the major aspects of Indian approach towards the problem. Recent abstention at the UNHRC. See, recently, currently now when this conflict between the Hamas and Israel is going on, there was a resolution in United Nations Human Rights Council, but India have abstained itself from voting there. Now, this abstention of India reflects its commitment to the understanding of the complexity of the conflict and not taking any side. India has made it very clear, we are not going to take any side, we are going to take the side of peaceful coexistence. Okay, so we have done in details how Hamas, how PLO, how Palestinian Authority came into being, how Israel came into being, how the conflict is going on, right? What is the Indians approach towards is the dehyphenation policy, two state policies, how India have approached in a very balanced way. We have discussed everything, so this will be very important for you if you are attempting any, mains examination or any interview. See, whenever you will be writing any answers on Palestine Israel conflict, the India stand, you have to always mention the dehyphenation policy and the two state policy solution which India advocates for the peaceful coexistence. This, when you write about these things, the answer will have a great weightage and you will have a benefit of it. It is one of the most important topics. In 2019, there was a question asked on Israel by UPSC. In 2018, again, there was a question on the India and Israel relationship. So these are very hot topics, and you can expect more questions now because the conflict has again occupied the headlines throughout the world. So prepare accordingly, prepare your notes. Thank you for watching this video. Like and subscribe the channel. Please share our channel with your friends so that we get more support from you. Thank you so much.